Tonight's San Angelo Community Band Memorial Day concert. Please rise for the presentation of the colors by Company F, 16th Regiment Color Guard from Fort Conscious, and remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. You may be seated. My name is Rick Mantooth. I am the MC for tonight's Community Band concert, and it says here that I should now insert any additional information about myself that I would like you to know. I got nothing. We'll begin with Joseph Jenkins' first composition for band, American Overture. It was written in 1953 when Jenkins was just 25 years old during his first military stint when he served as the arranger for the United States Army Field Band. Although this piece was written for the exact instrumentation of the field band, meaning there are distinct and independent parts for each instrumentalist seated in that ensemble, the star of this piece is the French horn section. In the first measure of the work, they perform an immediate and impressive leap of an octave, even though a 2003 revision of the score eliminated the slur that initially connected this octave and pretty much ensured a glissando that was captured as well. Horn players everywhere either treasure or loathe this famous opening figure. The rest of the overture is a high-energy expression of bold optimism that puts every section of the band in the spotlight. Here is Joseph Jenkins' American Overture for band. Though known mainly as a superb cornet soloist, William Paris Chambers was also a fine conductor, a good teacher, and a prolific composer. Of his 124 marches, Boys of the Old Brigade is his finest. The march was published in 1901 by Carl Fisher while Chambers was employed at the New York store. While it is not known if Chambers had a specific brigade in mind, the title does bring to mind the opening line of the song that was popular at that time, "Where are the boys of the old brigade who fought with us side by side?" We hope you enjoy the Boys of the Old Brigade March by W. Paris Chambers. Among the outcomes of World War I is the music that was used to offer comfort or boost morale of the troops, as well as those on the home front who worried about their loved ones. British composer Dean Jones arranged a medley of early 20th century songs to commemorate the centennial of this war. Goodbye, Dolly Gray, It's a Long Way to Tipperary, Pack Up Your Troubles in Your Old Kit Bag, Over There, Take Me Back to Dear Old Blighty. Those are among the melodies you may recognize in Dean Jones' Songs They Took to War. America's unofficial national anthem was composed by an immigrant who left his home in Siberia for America when he was only 5 years old. Irving Berlin wrote the original version of God Bless America during the summer of 1918 at Camp Upton, located in Yaphank, Long Island. For his Ziegfeld-style review titled Yip Yip Yip, Yip Yip Yaphank? Yaphank? That breaks every rule. My mother would be so upset. However, Berlin decided that the solemn tone of God Bless America was somewhat out of keeping with the more comedic elements of the show, and the song was laid aside. In the fall of 1938, as war was again threatening Europe, Berlin decided to write a peace song. He recalled his God Bless America from 20 years earlier and made some alterations to reflect a different state of the world. Singer Kate Smith introduced the revised version during her radio broadcast on Armistice Day in 1938. The song was an immediate sensation. Berlin dedicated the royalties of the sale of the sheet music to the Boys and Girls Scouts of America. Please welcome community band member and Central High School teacher Jessica Olson to sing Irving Berlin's God Bless America. Beautifully done. A versatile composer and arranger, Paul Murtha is comfortable both in professional and educational circles and is in constant demand in and around Washington, D.C. In the early 90s, Murtha served as the chief arranger at the United States Military Academy Band at West Point for 6 years. In 1996, he entered service with the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, as a member of the arranging staff. He then served as the chief arranger from 2001 until 2016. About our next selection, Paul Murtha expresses his sentiments and ultimately the nation's perfectly with these comments. Arlington, subtitled Where Giants Lie Sleeping, is a tribute to the generations of American servicemen and women buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Their selfless service and sacrifice in defense of our country and way of life has made them all giants in my mind as they find their eternal rest at Arlington. The opening statement of this work paints a musical portrait of the cemetery. When you see it, you're struck by its simple beauty and the sheer weight of what it represents. The offstage trumpet statements represent the sound of bugles which are heard there daily, answered by the snare drum and timpani. Arlington is also a quiet, peaceful garden, a place for reflection. One of the most moving sights you'll see is when thousands of American flags have been placed before the gravestones prior to Memorial Day each year. This scene brings to mind the familiar song, My Country 'Tis of Thee, and the lyric, Sweet Land of Liberty, which is at the core of service and sacrifice of these men and women. Often you can hear one of our nation's military bands in profession playing the proud, powerful hymn, God of Our Fathers. Some call it our national hymn. When I hear it in that setting, it reminds me of courage, strength, and the sacrifice of the giants that lie sleeping at Arlington. quiet, almost inaudible wow at the end. Tonight, we also honor and pay tribute to those who currently serve in our armed forces. This includes all the men and women who have volunteered to serve our country and defend her freedom, as well as their family members left behind at home, and their family, friends, parents, husbands, wives, sons, and daughters. If you or someone close to you currently serves or have served in one of the nation's armed forces, we invite you to stand and be recognized when you hear your song as we thank you for your service. With Bob Loudon's Armed Forces Salute. United States Army. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Marine Corps. The United States Air Force. The United States Navy. Now, with your permission, I would like to ask all of our current and former service members to please stand at once, together, and hear our thank you. While we're saying thank you, let me also say thanks to the leadership of Sierra Vista and the church community for hosting this concert of the community band. Ethan Clark and Riley Duke are in the sound booth. Thanks to those guys. We have several commercial sponsors as well: Tough Shine, Jake and Laura Martin Refrigeration, Angelo State University, Tarpley Music Center, Linda and John Tyler. And of course, thanks to all of you who support the community band with your presence. We appreciate your fans. All right, Colonel Michael J. Coburn, the 27th director of the President's own United States Marine Band, informed the world about the Liberty Bell March with this statement. In 1893, John Philip Sousa was inspired by watching his son march in a parade celebrating the return of the Liberty Bell to Philadelphia, following a tour across the country. Sousa knew that a march honoring that great icon of freedom would serve not only as a celebration of the bell itself, but also the ideals it represents. Here is one of John Philip Sousa's most popular marches, the Liberty Bell. Again, thank you for joining us for this Memorial Day concert. Please plan to attend our next concert held at Southland Baptist Church on Monday, June 17th, 7 p.m. The community band will march us into summer. To close tonight's concert, we bring you a medley of music by America's first superstar, known coast to coast as a successful actor, singer, dancer, playwright, composer, librettist, director, and producer. George Michael Cohan was born in Providence, Rhode Island on July 3, 1878. His first successful Broadway production was Little Johnny Jones, produced in 1904. That show was filled with patriotic tunes which would make Cohan famous. Star-Spangled Salute by James Barnes features some of those tunes, such as Give My Regards to Broadway, Harrigan, All in the Wearing, Over There, Yankee Doodle Boy, and You're a Grand Old Flag. Dedicated to Colonel Finley R. Hamilton and the United States Army Field Band, here is Barnes' Star-Spangled Salute.